what a joy to get to talk to you. Jurnee Smollett, who has been in so many extraordinary things. I mean, Full House, we're going to talk about it. Friday Night Lights, Eve's Bayou, Underground, Lovecraft Country, and now Smoke, an extraordinary performance. The series is, you've seen the first episode premiering June 27th on Apple TV+. So first, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me how much you knew about this story, because there is a podcast. There is, if you, depending on how much news you follow, you might know something. I knew nothing, and it is riveting. But how much did you know?
When I was sent the scripts, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know it was based on a podcast. It wasn't until after reading the first 3 scripts and then meeting with Dennis that I found out about the Firebug podcast, went and listened to it, and then started Googling John Orr and realized that, oh my gosh, my parents, I remember being a kid and my parents talking about him and how crazy the case was, just in the background. So it was a little bit of a full circle moment. But yeah, I mean, initially I didn't know anything about it.
Tell me about meeting with Dennis Lehane. I think I know that you were a fan of his.
Huge fan.
I mean, just an extraordinary writer.
Yeah.
So was there something in particular that he said about Michelle that you said, okay, this is, I want to dig into this character?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, when I first met him, it was over Zoom. I had already read the first 3 episodes, and so I was obsessed with the character and obsessed with the project. It gets crazy, y'all. Let me just tell you. Okay. And in the best way, though, and having already been a fan of his work, Mystic River, Shutter Island, I mean, Blackbird was incredible. Yeah. And so I was kind of fangirling initially over the Zoom, And immediately he and I started vibing about Michelle and who she was inside and her inner life and the childhood trauma. And he said to me, Jurnee, we all say we want to be happy, and yet why are we consumed by the very things that want to destroy us? And that was my entry point into Michelle, is that she is someone who over the course of this season you will see she is enticed by these very dangerous elements. And fire is a metaphor for these forces in our life that are capable of completely destroying us, and yet we walk right into it. And why do we do that? Why do we dance with that line? Why do we stay in a toxic relationship? And why do we even participate in something? She's in a relationship with her boss who's married, who leaves his wife, and then she says, I don't want to be with you. So that was definitely one of the nuggets that I held on to. And, and then I just went and I spoke to a lot of experts in the field. I spoke to, former Marines. I spoke to detectives. I spoke to firefighters. I spoke to a therapist about attachment theory, because Michelle very much so dances in that pattern of avoidant and anxious with Stephen Burke, in which, when he's ready to lean in, it terrifies her. She yearns for intimacy, but it's the thing she's most afraid of, because, as we will learn, she does have this mother wound and experienced a real deep betrayal when she was young. And so she can't let people in. She can't allow them to see her be vulnerable. She has to throw herself into her work. That's her identity. And so that is what Stephen knows. That's why he can take that from her, because she actually has the power in the relationship and he has the power in the workforce,
That's so interesting to me that is that something you do reach out to a therapist to kind of understand the inner workings of the characters that you've played?
I do a number of things. It really depends on the
I know
project.
you're a researcher.
Yeah, I'm a research junkie. It just gives me more confidence when I feel that I understand the world and who, what, why, when, where, um, and know really the specificity, even the things you don't really see. That's what I think my job is to really create the world and have it be so um, uh, alive, so that when I walk on set, I can leave all that stuff alone and the work can feel invisible, you know. Um, and so yeah, with Michelle figuring out, okay, she's in this path. When you meet her, she is literally destroying her home in order to rebuild it. So she's in this pattern of creation and destruction, in her life. So yeah, it really, every project, it varies what the need is.
It's interesting because we get little glimpses, and you do learn more about her childhood and different trauma later in the series, but you get little glimpses in this first episode of that she carries pain. I mean, there are things that from her childhood. You see a girl closed behind doors as a fire in this episode. And how much did Dennis tell you about her history, and how much did you want really like the specifics filled in?
Oh, I wanted everything filled in, and what he was honest in the he had a lot of backstory he had already created, but then there were things that he was like, I don't know, Jurnee, it's up to you. What do you decide? And so
do you like that?
I love
that.
No, okay. Yeah, no, I love that. I love being able to collaborate and fill in the missing pieces, and in building her biography, really be able to make it my own. Yes, there's a lot that he had already written, because that is his process too, and a lot that he ended up constructing through our conversations, because episode 8 and 9 hadn't been written yet when I was cast, and so that becomes very heavy in her storyline. So yeah, I go to I'm pulling at everything. Yeah. The text, the source, my imagination, my coaches, they help me fill in some of the blanks.
And I know that just physically, and as you said, you talked to Marines and you like bulked up. I mean, I think I was watching an interview with you and you gained like 15 pounds of muscle. What is that? I'm curious, just the physicality of that, just, walking differently, feeling differently, like wearing clothing differently. Like how does that inform your performance?
I knew that line when she says in the pilot, you got 50 pounds of armor strapped on you, right? Like, you're in the desert. Like, what is that level of endurance that you have to have? It's not just physical, it's also mental, a mental toughness. And so I did watch a lot of interviews of former Marines talk. I interviewed some, like I said, but then also I watched the Marine workouts. Y'all ever see them on YouTube? They intense, man. Like, and so I went to my trainer, Jeanette, and was like, I can't be skinny. Just logistically, it's like, she's a former Marine. There's a muscular presence that she has to have. And it's not like she's a former Marine who then went into a different type of workforce. Like, she's still, going to want to maintain that in order to do her job well in a male-dominated field, right? So yeah, it was important, and it is something that I do think about and have coaches help me work with, just the physicality, the walk or the posture. Because, when you have a gun strapped here and you're used to shooting a certain way, or, all these certain things, it does change you. It's not Jurnee. It's not how I naturally am, and so it's really about how can I mold into her and bring that out.
I've always been curious about this. Do you hate when there is a camera on you as you're running? I just feel like, I don't know, it just feels like one of those things that like...
I keep being asked to do it, so if I hated it, I'm screwed. I mean, it's they always strap the camera onto a tractor. and it's like on the back of the tractor, and you're chasing it. And in my head, I'm always going, because they always go, Jurnee, don't push yourself. The first AD, they'll always come to me and go, it's okay, like just pace yourself. We'll warm up with the first one, and the tractor, it might get a little ahead of you, but just try to keep this level of distance. Like they give you a target. And in my head, I'm always like, okay, watch me. And so every single time, it's my mission to outrun the tractor. Every single time. And every single time I do. And then they're like, can you slow down? You outran it. And I'm like,
How about you pace yourself?
Yeah, no. I don't do well with photo shoots with cameras because it's awkward to me to have to look into the camera because we are trained to try to forget that the camera is there. So when you perform into the camera, I'm like, that's like a model. That's not me. It's my job to forget that the boom dude is there and his shirt is rising up and you see his belly, or the camera operator's whispering, it's my job to forget that everyone's there. So I don't mind any aspect of the camera being on set. I've trained to work with it. Honestly, anything having to do with camera that I'm awkward with is just with a photo shoot.
Yeah. Tell me about, working with Taron Egerton and the two of you and what you see here, and you see their relationship and what happens over the course of the series. There's this instant, at times antagonistic, at times I have your back, and then it goes on from there. Tell me about working with him and creating that dynamic that does shift quite a bit.
It actually was a conversation I was having with my acting coach, and just that it's important to not start at 90 with him. And so the first scene, we really just I approached it as, you know what, I am aware that neither one of us want me here, but I need him because Steven's trying to keep me down, and I gotta land this whale. I gotta catch one of these arsonists, or both of them, and so that I can go back to him and be like, what, motherfucker, So I need to soften Dave. And how do you soften someone like him? You feed into his male ego. You go, yeah, your reputation is so great, man, and I know nothing about arson, that's how you do it. It's a mind game that she's playing with him. And that's the thing about this whole show is you will see them in different ways playing with each other's minds. And consciously, subconsciously, in moments we'll see that they're more like brother and sister. In moments they are capable of tearing each other's head apart, And when it came to Taron, man, he's so good. He's so fantastic in this role. It's so unlike anything he's done. And I had the time of my life just playing in the sandbox with him. We didn't discuss any of it. We didn't talk about it. We both work very similarly in that we go in our little corner and you do the work, and then you get in the ring and you're like, okay, what's he feeding me? Okay, let me respond back. Oh shoot. Okay, well, let me ping this back. What? And it becomes a tennis match, and he's so present and I'm present, and you just, it's beautiful. It's like creating a symphony together. You just react. Yeah. You just listen.
It's so interesting watching just the way that Michelle handles things. And I think one of the things I love about your performance is that she can be very kind of still, as there's a lot of just disgusting, at times sexist, misogynistic, racist things that are being thrown at her, and you see her she's so smart, thinking, how am I going to handle this? Mm-hmm. And it's really it was really incredible to watch because she doesn't blow up, So how was that about? Tell me about playing those moments, because you got to like keep restraint on, or she keeps restraint on.
Yeah, especially in episode 2, what you're referring to. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it was important to exhibit and tap into the fact that she, for one, anyone who works in a male-dominated field, this is not the first time that she's dealt with this level of adversity or being underestimated or being, told that she's an affirmative action hire, right? Like, it's not the first time. And and so my perspective was, she's not gonna let it affect her. It does. It always will. But she's not gonna let him know it affects her. And how is she gonna use this as fuel, right? Um, and so she just doesn't want to let them win. And how do you let someone win? Oh, if it affects me, then I'm gonna get angry. But anger's not actually the smartest choice, right? How can I outsmart you? And that is her approach in so many different ways, is to be patient and to be almost like just like a wolf stalking her prey, very patient, waiting for the time to attack, watching their behavior, studying them. Until, she makes some choices that are questionable and she ends up regretting it. But, we're not there yet.
Yeah, no, but I think in your performance, which is so good, you see her, you see the impact that it has on her. You see her choice to not do it, to sort of, as you said, be like a wolf and sort of wait until her moment. But that's a lot to play simultaneously.
But what a gift that is for us actors, right? You never want to have one thing you're playing. That's not life. No one's one thing. And in any moment, all of us sitting here right now, there's several things going through all of our minds, and we're feeling multiple things, right? And so that's the thing I'm always trying to capture, is the complexity of being a human being. And Dennis Lehane, I give him credit, because as an actor, you just don't have to work as hard when the writing is great. Get an amen. Yeah. And so it's great writing. It really is.
You've been in front of cameras since you were a baby. I mean, less than 10 months old, right? You got your SAG card when you were 3. 3 years old.
Here in New York.
What was there a moment where you remember thinking like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, I love this.
There was. I love that you asked that, because I love reflecting on this. There was, and I remember it so clearly. Most of my early childhood was spent like modeling, here in New York. We were with Wilhelmina, my older siblings and and I would model diapers next to Bugs Bunny, and then my first commercial was a Pepsi commercial, I think, with Joe Montana. Or was it a Cheerios commercial? I don't know, something like that. But early, it was just fun. It was fun to perform and entertain, and it wasn't until I did Eve's Bayou when I was 10. It was my second film. And there was a scene, we had done so many rehearsals. Casey Lemons, she was really beautiful in her approach and trying to get me to really think like the character. My mom was my acting coach. I had Casey, I had Sam Jackson. I had like a lot of adults in my life pouring into me, their version of technique, right? And it wasn't until we were shooting this one scene with Eve and Sam's character, my father, and I just witnessed him cheating on my mama, which is a lot for a 10-year-old, right? And he chooses to not discuss it. And instead of us talking about that, we're sitting across from each other, and I ask him why he never dances with me at the parties. Casey's such a wonderful writer. And in shooting that scene, right, Eve goes to hug him, and it was a take when the camera was on me, and I go up and I hug Sam, and I drop the mask. And it was such a simple thing that my brain in that moment, I was able to think like her, of like that hug made me just drop the mask, that I had been trying to protect his feelings all along. And being able to think like her was such a thrilling experience. It was almost like euphoria is how I can now probably process it. At that moment, I didn't know exactly how to process it, but I knew in that moment, oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. You know, there was so much I could relate to with Eve, with my dad, with my mother, you know, like my family. My mom was from New Orleans. And being able to get lost in a character that high, I knew I wanted to be able to experience that for the rest of my life.
I also love, I was reading something about an interview you did a while ago, and you talked about being on Full House as like a little kid. This is like way before Eve's Bayou, and how all of these people know, like, they're like, yes, this character, like, this is why I watched, and you know, like it was like I didn't see someone like me, you know, on this show, and just how people still come up to you, right, and talk to you about.
It's crazy. Yo, I was 4. People still ask me about you bringing it up. Like, I still get asked about this. I was 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know. It was like over the course of a few years. But honestly, anytime someone is impacted by the work, regardless of what age I was, like that really tells me something. It tells me that there is power in art and there's power in story. And yes, of course, a number of like little Black girls will come up to me and be like, you know, I never saw someone with curly hair, or like, you know, that kind of thing. But I think it all is important. Representation matters, stories matter. And clearly, you know, they had something right going on with that show, because people still love that show.
Yeah, people still asking about it.
Yeah.
People like me. Since you have been working since you were a baby, and you've played so many extraordinary characters and worked with amazing directors and writers, do you have in your mind do you keep a kind of wish list of, oh, I want to play this kind of person, or this is something I want to do? Or is it like, oh, let's see what my gut responds to when I get sent a script?
It's both. It's definitely both. I have been fortunate enough to be able to work with so many of my like bucket list actors or storytellers. I mean, like working with Jamie Foxx recently a few years ago on The Burial, like that's bucket list for sure. You know, even Maggie, who was the director, I had seen her first film, and I had put her on my list of filmmakers that I wanted to work with. And so, yes, I do keep a list.
You have a list? Okay.
I have a list, yes. But if I'm sent a script and it doesn't involve anyone, you know, necessarily, it is first and foremost always instinct. Because bucket list isn't enough. It's great, but it's not enough, you know. I have been offered things that involve bucket list folks, and I have said no if the character or the script just don't resonate with me. So instinct is always first and foremost.
Might we see you in a Friday Night Lights reboot? Speaking of, like, I mean, that's on my bucket list, to see you again as Jess.
It's not up to me. You got to ask Jason Katims or the folks who are doing it.
Is there anything that, as you like reflect on all of your years of acting, that is your kind of your North Star, as far as something that maybe someone said to you, something that you carry with, maybe something that your mom said to you? She was your first acting coach. That is the thing that you always hold on to as you approach a role.
I feel like probably my most impactful experience with a filmmaker, actor, storyteller was Denzel with Great Debaters. I mean, it was right at this moment in my life. I was a young adult. like teenager turning, I think I had just turned 19 or 20. And I was really at this crossroad of like, do I want to still do this? I was doing a lot of work in the nonprofit world. I had just gotten back from South Africa, like literally volunteering. We had built a well in Inkwavuma, and I was traveling around with a delegation from an organization called Artists for New South Africa, and I really was considering quitting and transitioning into something else. And it was a script for Great Debaters that made me go, well, maybe I want to try to go after this, you know. Yeah. And Denzel, working with him, there's so many things I learned from him and so many things he taught me. And to name a few things, one, this idea of creating a biography for your character and knowing everything about your character. Really, I have to give him credit for that. This idea of not over-rehearsing, getting to that, finding that sweet spot where you feel confident enough, but you're not locked into a performance, staying fluid and flexible so that you can listen and respond on the day to your environment, to your co-stars. You know, he had told me a story. I'd asked him about, because there was this scene where I had over-rehearsed. It was a debate scene. And he had come to me and he said, "You over-rehearsed." And I was like, I did, man, you know. And he's like, "It's okay, you know, we'll shoot everyone else and then we'll get to you." And I didn't really know how to unlock it. Like it was locked in, man. Like, you know, y'all know that feeling. And so he comes to me and he said, if you're gonna ask a question, get an answer. That's all he said. And there was something about him saying that made me realize, oh, the topic of this debate is personal for her. She's fighting for her life. The stakes are high. This is not any old debate. These are not just words. This is coming from here. And that's what he meant by, if you're going to ask a question, get an answer. Get it. Don't leave here without getting that answer. And it like, oh man, it woke me up. And the take that's actually in the film, it's this debate in which I'm saying, you know, the time for justice is now. And it resonated with me of like, she's desperate. She needs everyone to understand that she's fighting for her dreams. The topic of the debate was whether or not a Negro should be able to go to a university and whether it should be integrated. She wants to be a lawyer. How can she become a lawyer if they don't integrate it? So she's literally fighting for her dreams. It's personal. And so finding the way to always make something personal, I think has been a revelation for me. Even if you're, you know, a detective and you're investigating something, what does that case mean to you? And that's the thing that I discovered with a lot of the detectives that I interviewed. They would take these cases home. These cases were personal. How can you not? If you're investigating something like a child being molested or woman being raped, a house being burned, like, how's that not going to affect you? You know, like, you're not a robot. And so finding the person beneath the cases, finding the relationship beneath the dynamic, right? Like, so with me and Dave, Taryn and I, right? Like, what is the person in this? What are they actually saying? What's the subtext of what they're actually saying? You know, I need to feel welcomed. I need you. So how do I soften you up? And right? It's really, you know, so much of that I learned from him.
Well, I have to say I'm so happy you didn't quit acting. You've done so many incredible roles. I can't wait until everyone has seen all of Smoke, because there's so much, like, I have to be so careful about not spoiling anything, but it's another in a long list of extraordinary performances. Smoke premieres on Apple TV Plus on June 27th, 2 weeks from today. So congratulations for that.
Thank
and
you.
Jurnee Smollett, thank you so
much
much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you all.